Hello and welcome to Broads and Books. I'm Erin.
And I'm Amy, and this is episode 127. I'm going to be
the one that walks 1,000 miles to you. I think it's because at the end, don't they add it together? 500 miles.
Yeah, okay.
I would walk 500 more.
I'm not going to walk 500 miles for anyone. I'm going to tell you that right now.
No, that's absurd.
It's absurd.
How long would that even take? 500 miles of walking
That's
would
like
take
the rest of your life.
Yeah,
I don't wanna do that.
and then 500 more. You got done with the first 500, and then
Yeah.
someone said, "Hey, if you really love me, you'll do another 500."
Yeah.
That's abuse.
See, it is because
That's manipulation.
they know you're not going to survive that.
No.
So
No.
go right ahead.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, apparently my love for anyone will not withstand 500 miles, and I'm okay with that. I'm not like the proclaimers.
Guess what? I'm more in the meatloaf category. I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that.
Much better.
Which I like how vague it is.
It really
so
is.
that I can fit in anything.
Yes.
Including 500 miles of walking.
Yeah.
Not gonna happen.
Not going to happen.
Not gonna happen.
It's nice that this is our last of the one-hit wonders because we're really just tearing it down.
Yes.
Like, this doesn't make any sense.
We're done.
Yeah.
Well, I picked it this week because there's kind of like a manifestation element to it. Like, I'm going to be this person. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So I was thinking about, like a manifestation being the person you want to be kind of theme.
Which I love.
Yeah, which is
There's a lot
great.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of depth in the idea of manifestation.
And we revealed that we will not be the people to walk long distances.
That's not something I'm going to
That's
manifest.
not gonna,
No.
I'm not gonna.
Nope.
Because if we're manifesting, I can just manifest teleportation, and then I'm just right there
Done.
immediately.
Done.
Don't have to do it.
100%.
So, okay, like you said, the idea of maybe creating the life you want or becoming the person that you want to be.
Yes.
In practical terms, lay it out for us. How does one do that?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
okay,
think anybody
okay.
knows.
Sure,
I
sure,
think
sure.
that's why it's $1 billion industry because
No kidding.
Yeah, because if we could do it, we wouldn't need all the tools, right? But that's why we all get sucked in and buy the planners and the organizers and the dream boards and the this and the that's and all the other things because we think we can do that. We want to believe as humans that we can somehow have control over certain parts of ourselves.
Yes.
And instead, if we just practiced radical self-love, we'd probably be a lot happier.
Oh, man.
And just be able to accept that, like, that's just not part of my thing. Like, we can accept it on some level. Like, we can say, hey, I'm never going to be a famous athlete. Like, we can get there, but we don't take it down to the next level where it's like, I might just not be the person that can run 5 miles a day.
Right.
Or I just might not be the person that's interested in having a bridge club. I'm not the person that's interested in, volunteering somewhere, whatever it is. Like,
and often we don't take it to the point of like examining why would I want those things?
Yes,
like
exactly.
Why should I be the kind of mother we're supposedly supposed to be? Why should I be this? And why am I killing myself in order to do it?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I just feel like it's not achievable because trying to fundamentally change you. No, that's not to say that you can't create habits or reach goals or anything like that. That's not really what I'm talking about. But even that on a level takes a very specific plan and amount of dedication for it to work. I mean, there's a reason that no one's New Year's resolutions ever last because we make them, but there's no actual plan attached.
Yeah.
So when I say manifestation, I feel like that's something different than this is something I want to achieve, so this is the steps I'm going to do.
Absolutely. It's like magic versus goals.
Yes.
Like wishing versus actually taking steps to make something happen.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I think if you're not realistic, even on a small level, it's not going to work. Like, hey, I want to eat better. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah,
How does that look? Like,
that's a good point too, is like saying what we want to happen. We don't really get very specific.
Yeah.
We have these lofty sort of things that aren't going to work anyway.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I think that it's a great industry. We're all willing to buy like, this. And I mean, it's what all of advertising is based on, right? This will make you the person you want to be. If you drink Pepsi or you drive this car or you wear these clothes or you listen to this music, instead of just accepting that, every human is a bundle of contradictions and that's okay.
Wiser words were never spoken, Erin.
Right?
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that comes from my own life because listen, there's so many contradictions in my head at any given time and in my whole being.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting that we were talking about manifesting because this week the annual right of Spotify Wrapped came out. And I had a moment where like, oh shit, I put this in the universe and this is going to happen. In which it told me that I'm in the top 0.5% listeners of 9 Inch Nails. And I was like, well, this means that I am manifesting Trent Reznor into my life.
I think so.
That this is happening.
I think so. Yeah.
That magic is real.
Yes.
And he's going to somehow know about this. Like Spotify's going to notify him.
Of his top
0.5%. And
listener.
somehow he's going to see my name and he's going to like, I feel a connection.
I do feel like we should meet.
Yeah. So Trent, I'm ready. Here we are.
She's ready.
I'm ready.
Yes. One area that I feel like manifestation sometimes forgets to highlight is like what might be the hurdles to that.
Well, one is he's married.
Okay.
So there's that. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
All
So
right.
he has a whole
However,
other life.
we don't know the state of his marriage. I'm not.
Very true.
We don't know. We don't know.
True.
We don't know.
Yeah, yeah. He probably lives in LA. So that's another one.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
That's what planes are for.
Okay. That's what planes are for. You're right. Otherwise, I see no impediments.
Okay.
Whatsoever.
Perfect.
Yeah. Those are the only things in the way of me and Trent
that's perfect.
being lovers forever.
Yeah. That was amazing. Everything about that was amazing. So, thinking of manifestation, and sometimes dream boards get lumped into that.
Oh boy, they do.
So we know that if you had to make a dream board for 2023, Trent Reznor's on it.
Obviously.
What other kinds of things would you put on that dream board?
Well, like we said, manifestation is basically like putting something into a wishing well and just hoping that it comes, right? So if there's no action necessary, it's just magic. So I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to manifest some magic things. One of them is that Trump is transformed by a witch into a slug. And then someone crushes him.
Oh. Wow. I like that you created a death scenario that wasn't that violent.
Right.
Like smushing a slug doesn't sound that bad.
Exactly.
But also it would be huge.
Huge. I'm not done. Hold on. All the politicians who vote for anti-trans laws are revealed to be trolls. And I don't mean internet trolls. I mean actual legitimate trolls.
Oh. I like that.
And then they are hunted.
Yeah. Because we can't have trolls running.
Can't have trolls running the government?
Yeah.
And then my final one is that Elon Musk takes his dick rocket to Venus and disappears forever.
That would be great.
Wouldn't it be?
That would be great.
Yeah.
That would be terrific.
So, just a few doable things that I'm hoping will happen in 2023. I'm manifesting it. Yeah. I'm telling the universe, listen, we need some wins.
Yeah.
We need some wins, and these are some ones that you could give us.
I like that. I had this image of Trump just being like, I was the best slug ever. Everyone agreed. I was a great slug. They'd never seen anyone slug like I did. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to do with it. Sleepy Joe Biden didn't know what to do with the slug.
Yeah. Let's imagine that there is a heaven or a hell, right? And he goes to hell, obviously. And so, he's with all the other, like, despots of all time, right? And he's like, me? I was the slug. It was the best kind of slug. And all of them are trying to one-up each other. And he is he's in heaven.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to one-up everybody. Yes.
And I got smushed. You got smushed.
Yeah. I didn't get assassinated. I just got smushed.
And guess what? That sounds bad. You got smushed.
Yeah.
You didn't get assassinated. You didn't get tortured. You didn't get taken out. You got smushed.
Yeah.
That's just
you were reduced to a tiny, slithery, disgusting creature that you really are.
Yeah.
And then got smushed.
And you got smushed. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep wishing and hoping, because that's what manifesting is.
That's all we can do.
Ziggy just walked by, and he looked like he gave me a nod. Like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Oh,
that's good.
He
did.
He's ready to hunt the slug for you.
So, okay. Let's think about, I know it's not fun, but let's think about the last couple of years of the pandemic, right?
Right.
A lot has changed, a lot for a lot of people. Who they are and what is important to them has changed as a result of these last couple of years. Do you think that there have been some changes for you? Is there anything that you have decided you just don't care about anymore, or anything that you do care about now that perhaps you didn't?
I think it really comes down to more of like an emotional feeling, which is that it feels like since the pandemic, everything takes more emotional energy. Yeah. And I think when I say pandemic, I feel like I'm also just wrapping up everything in the last couple of years,
so much,
particularly in the United States. Like all of the things that have happened that have just revealed how far we have to go when we thought we were further, I think. And so, or maybe we were delusional and think, what I mean. But so it feels like things take an enormous amount of energy now. And so I think I've become more particular about where that energy is spent. I think I've been more careful because the pandemic sort of made that okay at first. Like they gave us that kind of training wheel being like, oh, I don't feel comfortable coming because of COVID,
Yeah.
But then it kind of upped it. And now you can kind of, it's sort of like, hey, no, I just don't have time.
Yeah.
Or I just can't invest that kind of energy. And it's sort of become a little bit more socially acceptable to do that. But even if it wasn't, it's just something that it has just been a feeling for me. Like, that's just not going to serve me. I don't have the time to do that. I have very little patience for BS.
Oh,
so
God.
I just feel like I'm not going to put myself in that situation because I don't need to be dealing with that person. So I think that that's it for me. It's just an energy. It's a feeling of like, I have to be protective of my time and energy. And that has just... knowing that has made me weed out some things.
Absolutely. I feel this exact same way.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of that. And a lot of it has been teaching myself that that's okay.
Yes,
you know?
yeah.
Like, I think that we were continually, and still are in many ways, just running on empty, for lack of a better, cliche, but like just running ourselves ragged to try and do all the things you're supposed to do and and still look happy and pretend to be ambitious and all the things. And I think one of the things that's happened the last couple of years, the Great Resignation is just like showing us, this doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
None of this works anymore. And it never did, really. We were
No.
just fooling ourselves. We were pretending that all of this, like our work and produce was serving us. And it isn't.
It isn't.
It
No.
isn't at all.
No, and there's so much, and talking particularly about work, there's been so many studies in the last couple of years from highly respected firms that do those things or publications about where productivity falls off.
Yeah.
And it's way earlier than everybody thinks. Like if you're chaining someone to your desk, you're going to produce for these amount of hours. And the truth is that you actually get more and better production in shorter amounts of time with more time with a better life balance. And I think that is not something people wanted to recognize, but they're having to. And there's a lot of truth in that. I mean, it makes sense.
I know that just from, I've been working from home now, and you have too, for a long time, and just understanding how different it is from an office environment in which you feel chained to your desk from 8 to 5, and how just exhausting that was, but also just so demoralizing in a way,
and
pointless.
And there's so much time that you're not doing anything or serving. And I probably have a stronger, hardier work ethic at home because
so much.
You see it, you're there, you want to get home, you want to get it done, you want to get it done well, I'm also working at my peak times.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Right. You can sort of cater the schedule to what works best for you, which, I think you're right too, that a lot of like CEOs and leaders and stuff have really had a lot of their assumptions challenged, and that's kind of hard. And some of them still aren't digging it.
No, yeah. I don't think so. But I think, that's an interesting point because without the pandemic, I wonder if what we're seeing at Twitter would be going down the way that it is.
That's such a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I think people are just like, no, dude, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to sign a sheet that says I owe you 500 hours, like some kind of Scientology contract.
Yes.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Oh my God. Yeah. What do you think? What did you think the reaction to this was going to be? Is like everyone's like, yes,
I will die for you.
Stick me in your dick rocket to Venus. Yeah.
And what I also don't like about that is like, it's people like that who there's a wealth element in Elon Musk's success, but instead he's, trivialized it to, well, I work really hard and you're not working hard. You're not producing. You don't have a work ethic. And it's like, well, is that true? Or you're just completely out of touch and you're freaking
rich.
out and wanting control. And
it's the same sort of thing with the Kim Kardashian. People don't want to work these days, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're not understanding what real life is. You don't have the vulnerabilities that real life people do in their work day to day. You don't have to worry about so much that we do. Yeah. I think one thing the pandemic has shown me too is that a lot of the favorite things I like to do are not with people. And that's okay. Like alone time is okay.
It's valuable.
Yeah. It also made me a little more distrusting of people, which I had a sizable amount of distrust and suspicion already.
Right.
And it's really upped that quite a bit, which is unfortunate. And I'm trying to work through that. But, it just The world
Well,
sucks.
I think it's the pandemic, but it's also the political environment.
That's absolutely it.
It's made a big. I think their two are linked in the United States, no matter what you talk about, because everything became a political thing.
Yeah.
A mask, a this, a that. But then you have to be distrusting of everyone because you don't know where they fall, what they think, and everything feels a little bit dangerous.
It really does.
A little bit on edge, and it's just the world that we're living in right now.
It's a magical time to be alive.
It's something, I'll tell you that.
But I tell you, if Trump is turned into a slug, we're all going to feel a lot better.
100%.
So I feel like this is like a Tinkerbell situation where all of our listeners should put all of our thought into turning Trump into a slug.
What if we turned him into a slug and then an exhibit? Like he was on display somewhere in a little slug house. Like in glass. Like he can't get out.
Leaving a slimy little trail
Right.
all around his slug house.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I like that. See, this is the kind of creative things we need to be thinking about.
Right. This is where our time and energy needs to be. Manifesting slug houses. Nailed it.
Well, for my fiction pick,
you
know, I had sort of a theme in my dream board for 2022 of turning into creatures or animals, turning the bad dudes into that. Yeah. That's sort of on par with my fiction theme. It's called When Women Were Dragons.
I wondered if you read this.
Oh, did you read it?
No, it's on my list, but it sounded so much up your alley.
It's by Kelly Barnhill. It came out this year. And Alex is a young girl in the 1950s. And one day in 1955, hundreds of thousands of wives and mothers around the world transform into dragons. Many of them kill their spouses, set things on fire, and then take to the skies.
Well,
one of the women who transforms is Alex's Aunt Marla. And she leaves behind her little girl, who Alex's family says, okay, this is your sister. Your aunt never existed. None of this ever happened.
Oh.
And her family is not the only one. It becomes this huge taboo to speak about what's called the mass dragoning. Okay. You never speak about dragons. You never speak about the women who left. You never speak about anything that happened ever. Just hold tight to what is real and right and normal.
Okay. Wow. That's...
But of course, it changes everything. Yeah. And Alex is very confused, very isolated, but she throws herself in to take care of her new sister.
Oh.
And at the same time, she's trying to deal with that. She's developing a crush on Sonia, her schoolmate, and her parents are growing weirder and weirder and so much more and more distant. But as her sister grows up, Alex's sister, she's obsessed with dragons. She talks about them. She draws them. And Alex is terrified because this is the kind of stuff that will get you punished and shut down in some way. And also, what does it mean that her sister occasionally starts to look like a dragon? Starts to maybe transform herself.
Real quick, so I'm assuming in this book that Governor DeSantis put in a law that said we can't talk about dragons?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
It's the Don't Say Dragon law.
That's what I thought.
And it works like a charm.
I thought it might.
It stops all the dragons.
So based in logic.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and no one ever thinks about dragons.
Yeah.
Ever.
No, ever.
So Alex's story is fascinating. And at the same time, there's another narrative that's happening. We're getting snippets of banned books about dragoning. Because some people, some academics, some scientists are writing about this and they're fascinated by it, as you should be. They're trying to get the government to listen to this. They're saying this isn't the only time this has happened. Like there are other incidents of this. But they're all being blacklisted. They're all being completely ignored, shut down. And one particular professor will not let it go. So we're getting snippets of his book as we go through it. And
amazing.
Then, I know. And then years later, some of the dragons come back.
Oh, shit.
And we learn what really has been happening with dragoning and with women in general.
No.
I chose it for this theme because one of the reasons why dragoning is such a taboo topic is because the rare reports that do surface show, like, some of the things that describe what happens often includes like the women's last words, and it's stuff like I feel so free, or it has to happen, or I gotta go now, things like that indicate that like this is a joyful thing.
Yeah.
Like Alex's aunt, before the event, we learned that she was a World War II pilot. She was in this elite group of all women pilots. It was amazing. She did a lot of unwomanly things, but afterwards she got more and more pressure to marry and to have kids. And she did, and she subsumed herself in the process, and then she became a dragon, killed her awful husband, and left. So there's an element of,
Yeah.
I'm going to be more than this. I'm
Yeah.
going to be more than what society tells me to be.
For sure.
And I'm going to fly out of this shit time and place, and I'm going to live powerfully.
I love it.
And with Alex herself, it takes a long time to understand like how unfair things are.
Yeah.
You know, just like anyone who's living in a very traumatic situation, she blames herself for a lot of stuff. She doesn't blame how weird society is or how messed up this all is. But there's something driving her, and she has to honor it. There's so much here. I loved it. There's some really beautiful stuff about women's friendships and relationships and family. I cried at the end.
Oh.
It was the day of the power outage, so I'm just sitting in the dark with a flashlight on my book, crying. Wow. Waiting for the power to come back.
That's a powerful image. That's a powerful end.
I can't say that the crying wasn't all the book. Like there might have been a like, oh God, the power's out and when is it coming back?
Right.
But it was also because the end of the book is beautiful.
Oh,
and
that
I had a
sounds
massive
amazing.
book hole afterwards.
I bet.
Yeah.
I know. I thought this sounded amazing. It's been on my list, and I was like, I feel like Amy's for sure going to read this
Well, and in
book.
case you think like dragons are super sci-fi or fantasy, this is a very grounded book. It just happens to have this really fantastical element of it, but everything else is the world as we know it.
Oh, sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, for fiction pick this week, I picked a book called I Told You This Would Happen by Elaine Murphy. And this is kind of a murder mystery, but it's more like it has some humor in it. So it's more just kind of a fun in that way. It was released in July of 2022. And Carrie Lawrence is the main character, and she has a problem. There's been a string of murders, and the MO of the killer is very familiar. It's exactly how her sister liked to kill people.
Oh.
But the problem is that her sister is dead.
Okay.
So she doesn't know what's happening.
Okay.
So we find out that Carrie's sister Becca died 4 months ago after she committed some murders. And she made Carrie kind of complicit in those crimes because sometimes she needed help burying a body or whatever.
Okay.
And Carrie felt this overwhelming family pressure and obligation to make sure that her sister was cared for. So after Becca's death, Carrie has this kind of free feeling, like everything's going to be great. She can move on. She can have the life she wants.
God
she
damn it,
can
yes.
be with her boyfriend. She can get a normal job. She can not worry about murders. So she's excited. But then she gets invited to a meeting of the Brampton Kill Seekers, which is this kind of like group that's appointed themselves PIs, and they're trying to figure out who committed these murders. And they're going back to like even Becca's time. Like who committed these murders? Because Becca got away with it. So Carrie's like, oh, this is kind of scary that they're investigating this. And when she's at the meeting, she finds out that in fact she's been incriminated by one of the notes left on a body. Oh. And this immediately springs to her head and makes her think, what? Is Becca really dead? Because that's 100% something Becca would do as an insurance policy. So right when she feels like it's getting ready to turn a corner, now she's got this crazy detective on her tail. She's got a group of wannabe PIs, and she has a pretty gnawing feeling that something else is going on with Becca. She just doesn't know what it is. So she has no choice but to get her hands dirty again. And she may or may not have to, be complicit in a few more crimes.
I mean, if you have to.
You have to.
Yeah.
Now, when I say this is like a fun murdery book, but I wouldn't put it in like a super murder mystery. It's not too dark. It's not too gruesome. It has more of a caper feel and like a humorous feel, which sometimes is a nice palate cleanser.
Absolutely.
It's not like cozy mystery where it's, simplified in that way. It's not. But it's more like just kind of a humorous take on it.
Okay.
Also, I read this book, and then I found out it was actually like the follow-up to her debut novel, which was called Look What You Made Me Do.
Okay.
So I can tell you with confidence that I read that after I found out because I liked this one. And you can read them both. There's some tie-ins, but you could read them both independently.
Okay.
I obviously read them out of order, and it was fine. So I think that her writing style's fun. I think it's a great book to pull you out of any like reading hole if you've been starting or stopping, or you're like, you like the murder, but sometimes you need a break. It's a fun mystery, and the characters are funny. The wannabe PIs are great. So it kind of gives you a little bit of both worlds. It's not too heavy. But it also has some tender things to say about family obligations and manifesting the person you want to be. How do you be the person you want to be when things you've done in your past maybe are still have ties on you? So
that's what I should have read after When We Were Dragons.
Yeah.
Because,
for sure.
I think I started and stopped a good 5 books after that. Just like, nothing.
Yes.
This isn't it.
That's the worst part when you read a really good book is that you might end up throwing away other good books because you're just like, it's not that.
It's not that.
It's not that.
There's not dragons.
Yeah.
Or there's not dragons in the right way.
Right.
This is all about dragons.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
100%.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it was good.
Well, for my other genre pick, I'm going a little different.
Ooh.
I've got a collection of online pieces.
Oh.
From Rachel Hillsop, and she's pulled this collection together for Pocket. I don't know if you've ever seen Pocket, but it's sort of it's an online aggregator for a lot of different news and stuff.
Oh,
and
okay.
it pulls together existing articles, but every once in a while it pulls together like a collection around a certain theme. And this one is called It's Not Just Burnout: How Grind Culture Failed Women.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
One of the first quotes is, "Why weren't we admitting that the way we were living wasn't working?" So this comes back to our conversation we had just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
So the author, she starts off by describing how she was one of the people that joined the Great Resignation. And she talks about why. And part of it was understanding during the pandemic that this idea of just work, and excelling and pushing and all the things, it just wasn't working for her anymore. And at first she sort of blamed herself, right? But then she discovered she's not alone. Women in particular are feeling this hard.
Yeah.
She talks through some data from the pandemic, how men have recouped all the employment losses, but women, there's still like 1 million less women in the workforce 2 years after this all started. And it's at least in part because of all the shit we have to deal with, right? Like childcare for so many, caretaking, the gender pay cap, racial injustice. She talks about how capitalism is just deeply messed up. And our lives, especially women's lives, hold so little value in the overall drive to just produce and produce and produce. So this collection then, it pulls together a bunch of pieces that talk about how work for women is deeply messed up. There's articles, there's essays, there's even that clip from Fleabag with Kristen Scott Thomas talking about women's pain, how we just have pain in our body and men don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
All of these things are about burnout and the much deeper issues behind it, along with this idea that if everyone is burned out, then it's not us that's the issue.
Right.
And I chose it for this theme because, you know, as we talked about, in this country, you're taught you have to be confident and you have to work hard and you have to manifest that person you want to be and that thing you want to do. And that's great. But then it becomes your fault if it doesn't work.
Right.
And if you're not happy, that's your fault too. And if you're burned out beyond recognition, well, too bad. You got to keep going. And for women especially, all these messages about like being a girl boss and being a bad bitch and all the terms, they don't take into account all these added pressures that we have and how our society is not made for us. And I really liked this collection because it gets at the problem of like preaching confidence and manifesting over how our society actually works.
Yeah.
Because like I was joking before, it just feels like magic, you know, like it does not take into account any reality of how our country works. So it's really interesting, really fascinating, empowering in a way too, knowing that it's not just us. There's a lot of voices here. You're going to really understand. You're really going to, it feels like it rings true. There's another quote here. "Girl bossery looked like women getting access to the proverbial table, only to clean up messes caused by a system that wasn't built with us at the center."
100%.
Yeah. So in the show notes, I'll include the link and you can read it all online.
Okay.
And some really good stuff, really interesting stuff.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
Also going to be depressing.
That's part
but
of it too.
Like I said, it'll feel like, okay, good. I'm not the only one.
Right. Yeah. Well, that kind of is a good segue to my pick this week for other genre because it also is absolutely amazing, but it can have some depressive moments. It's called Alive at the End of the World by Syed Jones, who wrote, I think you recommended his book.
Oh, yeah.
What's the name?
Oh, shoot. I'm completely blanking. But yeah.
How We Fight for Our Lives?
Fight for Our Lives?
Yeah.
Sure.
Is that it? Okay, I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Apologies about that.
No.
But this is his collection of poetry that came out in September 2022.
Very cool.
And it is...
look at you. You're continuing at the poetry like we
right?
talked about last week. That's right.
I know. I literally read those and then I went right into this one. And
perfect.
I honestly, when I was putting my notes together, I struggled a little bit because I had so many emotions when I read this.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was fun. And I'm going to tell you that I did it. I read it and then I also listened. He has a Audible original version of it where he reads it.
Oh, cool.
And it, was free with your Audible subscription. So I also listened to that, and it was a different experience both times, but it was great. And either one are great, together or separately. But it's a collection of poems about his own grief and experiences with racism and anti-LGBTQ plus experiences. But he also pulls on his own experiences. And by doing that, kind of like opens up these tiny wounds that exist in all of us, because it's so relatable on some levels. Like it's really focused on these little moments that maybe if you tried to explain to someone wouldn't seem like a big deal, but to you are like the chasm, the thing that hurt you,
Yeah.
And it's so somehow all of that, it's like so beautiful the way he wrote it, and there's some really funny stuff, and it's deeply emotional, but it's also... it feels so relatable on a topic that I think sometimes can feel unrelatable for someone outside of that experience set. One of the lines that I just love, it's just the way he words things sometimes, but he was talking about being at a stand-up performance and he had a question and answer thing for some reason, and someone was asking him some questions, and he examined it further why it bothered him, and he said, "Sometimes you don't like the outfit the question is wearing." Which I just thought was like the most brilliant way to say you don't like the way it's presented. You maybe don't like the person presenting it. That
tone,
person, it might be a valid question, but the way it came out, that has stuck with me because I love it.
Interesting.
Just don't like the outfit that question is wearing.
Yeah. Yeah.
What it's masquerading as. So I picked it for this theme because in allowing us into his own thoughts and feelings, he kind of turns a mirror for the reader, for us to reflect on how our experiences have shaped us, and what does that mean for who we are, and how do we accept some of those things? How do we make sense of that? Especially past hurts. So it's wonderful. It's a pretty quick read, but I really truly enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of him, maybe a bonus pick for you, because our friend Michael recommended a podcast to me. Ooh. He's like, "You're going to love this." And it has Saeed Jones as one of the hosts, along with Sam Sanders and Zach Stafford. And it's called Vibe Check. Ooh. And each week it's like a little bit of like what's going on in news and culture, but a lot of times they're just like, "So what's your vibe?" Just checking in with you. It's super funny. It's very smart. It's like, it reminded me because you were texting me this week about Las Culturistas.
Yes.
There's a very similar like vibe going here, but like I said, Sam Sanders is one of the hosts. He used to be on, I'm completely blanking on the other, but it was like an NPR, like news-based kind of thing. Oh, yeah. And so the perspectives are so cool. They had a whole discussion about, the demise of Twitter and like, where is Black Twitter going to go? Like, they were really like honoring some of the good things about Twitter. And, acknowledging that, we may all have to leave because this is a shit show. They also had a discussion about why all sort of movies and culture is mid these days. And so they define like mid as just kind of, It's it's really interesting and
That's
a lot
awesome.
of fun too.
Okay, good.
So it's interesting that you'll get to see a different side of Saeed Jones because he is hilarious. It's really good.
And you can, in some of his poetry, so funny. Like some of the things that happen, so funny. And that's what everyone knows. I've been honest about that all the time. That humor always gets me.
Oh yeah.
But it's humor done well, and
Definitely.
it's humor that's insightful is something really special. And he definitely has that, and you can definitely feel it in the poetry.
Excellent. Well, sounds great.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
I like the continuation of the poetry.
Look at me go.
Look at you go.
Who knew 2022 at the end would be the year of poetry for Aaron?
See, this is not something we would have predicted a couple years ago.
Shouldn't have ever.
And there you go.
No, I would have run the other way.
Continually surprising us.
I know.
Way to go.
You know.
For pop culture, I've got kind of a surprising kind of film, too. It's called Good Luck to You, Leo Grand.
Ooh.
And it's on Hulu.
Okay.
And it came out earlier this year. And it centers on two people. Nancy, who is Emma Thompson.
Oh.
And she's a retired widow. And she has hired a sex worker named Leo, who's played by Daryl McCormick, who is, you may not have seen before. He's also in Bad Sisters, which I recommended a week or two ago.
Yeah.
And Nancy has this desire that she can't even quite name, but she does know that she's had very limited sex with her husband.
Okay.
And she wants more.
Yeah.
So she comes in like a true planner. She has a list of positions she wants to try, and she has a list of all the things she wants to accomplish in this meeting, kind of thing, right? But one of the interesting things that's revealed later is she's never had an orgasm, and that's not on her checklist. It's like she wants to do all the things around sex, but is still not quite prizing her own pleasure first, right? But of course, when Leo arrives and he's young, she starts battling her self-image because she's in her 60s. She's what she says old. She feels like she's going to repulse him. Mm-hmm. And at the heart of it, she's struggling with this. She's struggling with like a life of kind of regrets and rules. She's not really keen on her family, to be honest. She's not really keen on, what she used to do with work. So they talk. And they end up having these fascinating conversations about sex and intimacy and what life hands you. And Leo, of course, is very sex positive and he's compassionate, but he's also playing a role. And at some points, Nancy's trying to get behind the role and get to know the real him, and he struggles with that. So there's a lot of interesting back and forth there. This is almost entirely set in Nancy's hotel room over the course of a couple visits. And there's conversation, and there's sex, and there's nudity. And at one point, it is so fucking refreshing to see a woman, Emma Thompson, in a normal body, just fully naked. You see it all.
Wow.
And it's just like such a revelation that, it's not an item of, I think we're taught that, especially as we get older, it's an item of disgust.
Yeah.
Like we are nothing anymore.
Yeah.
Where she's coming back into her body and understanding it and recognizing it and even starting to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I chose it for this theme because Nancy wants more. She's not quite sure what that more is. She's not quite sure the full parameters of that, but she knows sex is one way to get some more. She knows that was limited. And just this idea that she's going to take it in her own hands. She's going to hire a sex worker, which in and of itself is a ballsy move for a 63-year-old widow.
Yeah.
And she's going to do this and she's going to try for more. And that's very cool and liberating. And she's not the most confident person for sure, but she's taking actions to do more, to live more.
Yeah.
And so by the end, she might find, a different viewpoint on life. And it's really entertaining. It's funny. It's sexy. It's emotional. And Emma fucking Thompson.
Yeah, come on.
She is
Emma
amazing.
Fucking Thompson. Get it,
It's
girl.
just all hail her. Some of her
amazing.
choices lately have been really cool and interesting.
Yes.
And this is another I think you'll enjoy this one.
Okay. Ooh, that sounds good. Well, mine is also about sex, but sex gone wrong.
Oh, no.
Yes. Mine is called, God Forbid, the sex scandal that brought down a dynasty.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, we love a dynasty brought down.
Yeah.
We love it so much.
It's great. It's also on Hulu.
Okay.
It's a documentary.
All right.
And wowzer, did they not hold back. This is about Jerry Falwell Jr. and his wife, Becky.
Oh, yes.
And Giancarlo, the pool boy that they propositioned and then used for years.
Oh, my God. This sounds like it has everything. The Falwells and a pool boy?
Yeah.
Yes.
So here's the thing. That your reaction is perfect because I was fascinated by the scandal when it happened. But it happened in October 2020. Height of pandemic stuff.
I don't remember this. Then.
Right.
Yeah.
No one remembers it because there was so much stuff going on that no one remembers that this happened. Oh. So it kind of got brushed under the rug. So I love them bringing this back out because if you're unfamiliar with the Falwells, Jerry Falwell Sr. started Liberty University, which is this ultra-Christian university that has a moral code about drinking, swearing, having any kind of relations with anyone. This is a college, but they are held to the standard. Women have to look a certain way, all these things.
He is, can we say, a repugnant man.
Yes.
Just a terrible person.
Terrible person.
Hypocrite of all hypocrites.
100%. And son apple off the old tree.
Good.
Yeah, hypocrite is number one. So him and his wife Becky, they have kids, but they've kind of started this persona of themselves of being like the cool. Like
no.
They're both kind of, well, she's attractive. He's not, but they both are, they both kind of play this like, oh, we're fun and all of this stuff. But the problem is that things that happen behind closed doors with adults are not supposed to happen at Liberty University.
Oh, right.
So they're on a trip and they meet Juan Carlo, who is working at a pool as a pool boy. And his job really is to look good in a swimsuit and fluff towels and do all this. It's like a high-end thing, right? Well, they proposition him. And the basis of the documentary is mostly interviewing him.
Oh,
and he
wonderful.
says, I mean, this lady who's attractive and older wants to have sex with you. You're like, sure.
And that he has to get this kind of stuff a lot, right?
Right.
So, like, why not?
And then he doesn't find out until he gets there that, oh, by the way, my husband likes to watch.
Okay. Also, that's not cool to spring that on you at the last minute.
Right.
You got to be upfront.
So there's a lot of things right from the beginning. But so I knew of the scandal and I was fascinated by it. And I learned a ton in this documentary. I didn't realize how much they strung him along by offering him business deals and trying to get him in on money and all this, basically knowing that they were going to need to buy his silence. I also did not realize the direct link between Jerry Falwell Jr. and Trump and how Michael Cohen's involved in this story. There is some details that I had no idea about. And I'm telling you what, it's an hour and a half and it is worth every minute. It is a delight. I felt like you listen to Juan Carlos speak, you can understand. I think something that without seeing a person talking about it, you might be like, well, why'd you do that? Why'd you fall for that?
But seeing him
they
speak
interview
about
his
it,
sister and his sister saying like, I kept telling him, why are you doing this? But I think this and this. I mean, they really humanized him in an authentic way. Of him just explaining his thought process, and this is where it got to. And I was trying to be nice about this, so I was silent for a period of time. I mean, so fascinating. You gotta wait until probably you're an hour and 10, 15 minutes in, so you're getting near the end, and you're gonna hear a Jerry Falwell Jr. call to Fox News that he made when he was drunk, which also I never heard before, and it is phenomenal. It's just phenomenal.
Oh my God.
You're going to love everything about this. And I also think for the makers of this documentary and Hulu, congratulations, because this got sort of pushed under the rug.
Yeah, we needed to hear more about this.
And we needed to hear more. It just got wrapped up in a global pandemic, unfortunately.
And it was election season at the time. And we were very nervous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, this sounds like a wonderful
But there's an interesting connection that they make between Juan Carlo and Trump losing.
Oh.
In... was that 2020?
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, I already like him. Good job, Juan Carlo.
Yeah, he also looks the exact opposite of what you thought by having a name Juan Carlo. I will just tell you that.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Huh. Mm-hmm. Well, if only we'd paid attention, we might have got a little bit of joy at the time. But it was hard in October of 2020.
It was hard.
Going into the elections.
This is an interesting... Oh, man, is it interesting.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So, I'm telling you right now, you're going to like it.
All right.
And they held no details back. And I love them for it.
Now I'm fascinated. I wonder how many people call Fox News drunk. Like, there's got to be a good proportion, right?
I feel like a lot.
I mean, I would assume Trump is probably drunk on a number of calls he makes to Fox News.
He supposedly doesn't drink that much.
Really?
Yeah. That's kind of, I think when you're that crazy, you don't need this.
That's probably true. Yeah.
I mean, I think he makes enough unhinged phone calls.
He doesn't need any.
But there's no substance involved, which is scarier. That's a scarier place to be. Point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's just normal. Yeah.
I mean, if you're the type of guy that's throwing a hamburger against a wall.
Yeah.
And mean that as like a scary tactic.
Right.
I feel like if I saw someone throw a hamburger against a wall, my instinct would be to laugh.
Me too. Totally. Be like, really? That
you just
okay, now you're acting like a 3-year-old.
You're the only one that eats McDonald's, so you hurt yourself, sir.
You are a 3-year-old throwing a tantrum.
Exactly. It feels like a toddler where you're like, well, you ruined your own lunch.
Yeah. Now you got to,
Sorry about that.
Yep.
Why don't you go to your room and think about what you did?
Oh, boy.
So.
Hey, we ended with a bit of a positive note. even if things are kind of still messed up, it's not October 2020. That was a rough time.
It's not, yeah.
That was a rough time.
And that's why I should say that's why I picked it for this theme, because you listen to his journey and his decision to say, this isn't the story I want for myself. And I'm not going to let this narrative be written for me.
Yeah.
And even if it damages me in the process, I need to live in this and accept it and own what I did and then move on. And it's kind of a beautiful, wonderful thing to see.
That's great.
Yeah. And it's also juicy, which is great. It's just great. You just gotta love a juicy documentary.
Oh, yeah.
With all
Sometimes
the
that's what we need.
Yeah.
I think it's stuff like that that gets us out of the film and book holes.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. It does. Yep. It was fascinating.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, a little bit for everybody.
Yeah. And some super exciting news about what our next episode is.
Oh, we have another return guest.
I bet you can guess who it is, because it's the same return guest every time. We love him so much.
We love him. And I'll be honest. Listen, this time I said, hey, if you're sick of coming to visit us, I understand. It's a lot. And he's like, no, I'm going to be there as long as you'll have me. And I said, well, then my friend, this will continue for the years.
Forever and
this
never.
This will be
and
the
never.
relationship for the ages.
Well, so we're bringing Heath back for a pop culture episode.
Yeah, I guess we didn't say his name.
End of the year wrap up. But then it is in my head. We did come up with another great idea that maybe we do around, after we get out of winter, which is trying nostalgic foods. Yeah.
That's right. Like snacks and candies and things and all the
that
things.
We used to eat. Yeah.
I mean, now that he's said this, we can use him all the time.
Yeah.
He really did not understand what he was doing.
This
when
might
he said
morph
that.
from a book podcast into a Heath podcast.
Yeah. 2 broads and an honorary broad.
100%.
Yeah.
It's a great vibe.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, he's what we need as we're going into, holiday stuff.
100%.
So, yeah, we'll be rounding up pop culture. We'll have a good discussion there.
Yep.
And after that, you and I are going to do some more of, like, our favorite things kind of episodes.
Yeah. Little wrap up for you. So much good stuff coming for your holiday time.
And then who knows, maybe in January we'll have a whole new theme, because this was the end of our one-hit wonders.
This is the end of the one-hit wonders. Yeah. So stay tuned for what we choose, what direction we go next.
Who knows? The world is our manifestation oyster.
I was just going to say that. The world is our oyster. And then I freaked myself out and thought, is that the phrase? And then I was like, why is that
a real weird phrase?
I don't want an oyster.
I don't want an oyster either.
I don't want to be involved in an oyster. I don't want to have my world be an oyster.
No, they're slimy.
Yeah.
And even when I ate meat, that looked real bad.
Yeah.
Wasn't a fan.
Yeah.
I think I tried it at one point. But
you did?
I think.
Really?
Maybe.
I have never. Looks like snot to me.
Yeah.
People swear by them.
I know.
I think it's one of those things that gets hyped and it's not good.
Yeah.
That's my thought process.
Yeah. It feels like once you attain a certain level of wealth, you just eat a lot of stuff because you're supposed to.
Yeah. And, fuck off.
Yeah. I don't want that.
Yeah. Eat my pizza and my, like things that I love, not
I went to
oysters.
A family Christmas yesterday, and one of the gifts that one of my nephews got was just a massive bag of gummy bears, but they were all like little bags of them. So then it was just, he was handing them out. So
what a guy.
I got
That's
some gummy
nice.
bears. Yeah.
To share.
Yeah. Good old Titan. Just hanging out.
That's
handing
a
out
kind
gummy
gesture.
bears. And when I said I don't want your weird sour stuff, he's like, okay, you can have the normal ones. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. See, that's the kind of eating I'm at. That's the level I'm at, is gummy bears are fun and great.
Well, that's just facts.
And that oysters are disgusting.
Also facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I never claimed to be fancy.
Yeah. For some reason, when I say something like that, which I guess maybe like feels like a hot take, I feel the need to be like, come at me, bro. And I'm like, I don't know why. Where's that come from? Like, don't come at me.
Yeah, no.
I don't know why I'm throwing the bro in there, but right when you said that's the kind of food I'm in, I'm like, yeah, come at me, bro. And like, whoa, why did I get combative so fast?
You're in a very combative place. What is that?
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Something to think about it.
Something to
table
we'll
that
for that vibe
2023
later. Yeah.
So otherwise, in good news, you got lots of good stuff coming.
So much.
In the meantime,
happy reading.